G'day, today we're going to be looking at this DOVOH Ultra Bright Outdoor Laser Level. So firstly, the case, it comes in a really nice case. It's just a blow molded case, plastic, and then probably hollow inside between the actual shell. So nothing terribly special to it, but it is a nice case that will keep this safe inside. Opening it up, you've got your actual laser, which is what this is all about, and surrounded with a whole bunch of accessories and really nicely embedded in this foam. Now, because this is a really high precision piece of equipment, you do want to protect it. So it is a big case that it does come in, obviously quite nice, big and bulky. So that can take up a bit of space, but again, it will protect that laser really, really well. Now the laser itself also has extra shock absorbing features to it to make it even better. So when you're out in the field, if you do drop it or if it gets bumped or anything like that, it's not going to damage it. So that's actually a really nice feature. But let's go through what comes in the box first, and then we'll look at the laser. And we'll also do a bit of a teardown as well. So open it up and you can see how it actually works inside and how these sort of lasers work inside. So firstly, up the top here, just a few grooves cut away for this extra equipment, and then you just have instructions tucked in here as well. So it is actually quite a nice book. It is in English. There's little stickers there as well for laser warning as well. If you do want to put that on for different on different places, you can. And just really nice, actually quite in-depth instructions and you've got the languages here as well. So bunch of different languages, and then just a little card to show you how it works and what sort of lights you can expect, how dim or bright depending on where you move it. And I just think that's really nice how that actually tucks away in there, so you can pretty much just leave them in there until you actually need them. Laser itself, so then we've just got some safety glasses. So these glasses are going to work on the same wavelength as what the green laser does. So that's going to firstly protect your eyes if you do get that laser directly into your eyes, but also it does make that laser a bit more visible. So we'll give that a go later and see if it actually shows up on camera. Not sure if that will, but we'll see what happens. So they sit in there. You've got the batteries, which is actually a really nice feature. So it is a removable battery that you can see just opens up and it slides right out. Now these batteries here are 7.3 volts, 2.6 amps. So they do last quite a while. And the nice thing is you see this slotted in, lock it up, and that's good. And then you've got a spare battery here if you need it. So if that first one runs out, you can swap it. And then once you're using one battery, the second one can operate. And actually, while I'm on that, I may as well just look at this as well. So in here, you see, turn it this way, you've got DC 5 volts. So you flick that open and then you've got a USB-C plug here. So you can just plug this into a USB-C cable. Even just this charging cable here if you do run out of batteries, and run it straight off of that. Probably not all that practical, but it's really nice to have it as a backup feature if both of your batteries die or you lose them or something else happens. And then it just comes with a nice wall adapter as well. So one thing to note here is this obviously is USB-C and it comes with a USB-C cable, but it isn't actually PD. So if you do have a bigger, bulkier charger, it's not going to work on this. You do just need these simple adapters that always shoot out at 5 volts at 2 amps. So just the standard USB protocol. So that will shoot at 5 volts and that's going to work fine, but it's not going to work again, like I said, if you've got an actual USB-C power delivery block. So just something to keep in mind, not an issue. Obviously it comes with this and you'll have plenty of spare chargers around. So not an issue from that side there. That's the charger itself, kind of slides in like that, click it in, nice and lightweight, and that'll charge it. It has a remote control as well. Now this is really good. I've played around with this quite a bit. So it does have a little 12 volt battery in here, and interesting, this 12 volt battery is actually just made up of a whole bunch of little button cells that are stacked inside, held in by that case, but haven't seen one of these batteries in quite some time. But either way, the remote control works really well from a long distance. I've probably tried it from about, I'd say 15 to 20 meters away, and it worked fine. Not sure what it's actually rated for, but I haven't had any issues using it from the other side of the hallway into the other side of the building, and it's worked fine. So that's good. Here you've got a little target plate. So now again, this is in green color, so it's going to be the same wavelength as what the laser outputs. And the reason for that is because that green will light up or will show up on this a lot better than what you'll see just on the normal surface. So this is really good, especially when you're working at further distances or outdoor and the sun's really bright. You can use this plate to actually put that laser on. It'll target it and you'll be able to see that line a lot better. So I'll also show that in a little bit. Actually, I'll leave this out just so I don't forget to show that. Remote control we'll need, and then over here is just this plastic mount. So it's made out of nice and sturdy plastic. It does look to have some fiber reinforcing on the inside of that plastic, because when you do cut it, you can actually, you probably won't be able to hear it that much, but you can hear that kind of coming through. And same as on this one here as well. There is definitely some fiber reinforcement in this plastic, which is nice. So it make it nice and sturdy. It's got these nice brackets on the bottom. So once you mount this, it will sit pretty well, and it's not going to sag or anything under that weight, which is what you want. You want this to be nice and firmly mounted. So on the top here, that's where the laser sits. It does actually have two different tripod mounts. You got this big bulky one and then the small one. So that small one is what you can screw into the tripod, just like that. So the laser can sit on top, and then you can also swivel that around any way you want, which basically just lets you orient it exactly how you want. Now on this side here, you also have a tripod mount. You have a screw or a nail mount here. So if you mount this onto a wall, you just put a screw into it and that'll get held on like that. Then you have these two thumb screws here, and you can mount this onto a dowel, or just obviously if you've got a bit of material there, you can kind of put that through, secure it that way. So heaps of different options on how you can actually secure this. Then what you can do is, if you slide that down up the top here, you can actually just flip that open, and then here you've got really nice strong neodymium magnets. So if you do want to put that onto a metal surface, obviously not a hammer, but just an example there, you can see those magnets, and it is really nice and strong, especially in the lateral direction here, because you've got a really nice distance between those outer and inner magnets. So it is really difficult for this to peel off, because it does have that nice and wide support and this metal plate as well, so it does hold on really nice. And you then just clip it back. Again, the laser mounts on top. You just have a thumb wheel here, so you don't need any tools to do this, which is nice. Just a laser and the tripod, and that's it. And then you also have this thumb wheel here that you can unscrew, and then you actually have some fine adjustments. So you can run this, I'll show this, so you can run this up and down. So once you find where you want it, if you do just want to then adjust it a little bit, you can do that. And then you just screw that back in, tighten that up, and then that's screwed in as well. All right, so let's get all this out the way and just have a look at the laser itself. So coming to the laser, it's a pretty nice size, not too big, not too small. It's nice to kind of hold in the hand when you're adjusting it and put it down. Really nice and sturdy base. The construction of it overall, orange color, you can see it's just a hard plastic, and then all of the black is just over molded plastic, or a rubbery sort of plastic, which just has a nicer feel, and it just has a little bit more grip, and also acts as a bit of shock absorption. So if you do drop this, or whatever you're doing with it, that will just absorb a little bit more of that shock. So the case itself is also rated for IP54, which is really good. So especially the 50 for the dust ingress. You're going to be using this on construction sites or on building, and when you're using other tools and so on, there's going to be dust around. So you do want it to have some sort of protection for that. And 5 is a pretty good protection for dust ingress, so you can use this in dusty environments. And then the 4 just means with water, it can get splashes of water on it, it'll be fine, but it can't be exposed to, say, rain or direct jets of water or anything like that, which again pretty much is fine, because you're not going to be using this in too wet environments or anywhere. You know, if it rains or anything like that, you just put it away. You're not going to be working in that anyway. So that's good that they've done a good protection, good enough protection, but especially the dust is what you really want. Pretty nice sort of unit to it. As you saw before, the batteries, this compartment flips open. Now what you'll see is on the outside here, you see there's that over molding as well, nice and black. So that's a rubber, that's soft rubber. And then when this closes on really solidly, it keeps that pressure on the battery, on the outside here. So it seals it up really well. And then also the battery itself comes in, and then you have this backing plate here, just has a strip of rubber glued to it. You can see that. So when that comes in, that provides nice consistent pressure onto the battery, so the battery doesn't wobble around, and it's all really nice and solid when that's closed in. Then again, you got the metal bracket here for the tripod mounts, which is good that it's metal, not plastic, so obviously that's not going to wear out. And again, this little handle on the side when you put it down, and then you've got this interface up here, so you've got these 3 buttons. And now before we actually use that, I just want to show this down here as well. So this is the lock and unlock feature, which is actually really good. So when you're transporting this, you want it to be in lock. So what that does is that the pendulum on the inside obviously can just swing because of gravity when you want to use it. But if you are transporting this and it's got a lot of vibration, that will get damaged. And obviously precision equipment, you want to look after it, and you don't want it to have vibration and get damaged. So that's what this lock is in place. So when you're not using the laser, you just slide it into lock and it's good. And you can see I can move it around. There's absolutely no worries about it getting damaged or scratched or falling out. But then what you do is when you unlock it, so I'll actually just put it down and unlock it. So when you unlock it, it immediately switches the laser on, which there you go, you can see that line just get shot all around my workshop, but that just immediately switches it on, which is actually a really nice feature. And then you can switch that back off or to lock and it switches it off. So you can actually just switch it on and you don't have to go and press these buttons. So when you put it down, if you just want a horizontal light, this will just shoot out a horizontal light by default. And then you can come up here and then you've got your horizontal, so you can turn it off. You can see that makes a nice beep as well. And then you got your vertical. So you click that once and you can see this vertical line here on the bottom of the bench, and you click it again and it shoots that other vertical one, and you click it one more time and it'll put both of them in place. So you can see now it's got these two, well, effectively that X, and that's shining right at the camera. So I'll just move it around a little bit. There you go, and then you can press the H again, and then you get your horizontal line. So you can have all of those lines on at the same time, and you can also have one of them if you want, one or two, whatever you want. So that's nice. It's got obviously that feature. You don't always have to have everything on. And now the very first thing when I noticed when I actually switched this on was just how bright this is, right? So I mean, this is advertised as an outdoor laser. This is an ultra bright unit. This one here specifically, the H3-360G. So this unit here has 110 milliwatt laser inside, which is extremely bright. So that is really nice. You can use this in obviously so currently inside the workshop here, you can see I've got really well lit workshop. So it's got really nice lighting, and you can see these lasers come really strong. So obviously they are quite close right now, but it doesn't really matter how far away you go, they will stay nice and strong. And what you kind of heard there is as I pick this up, it starts beeping and flashing at you once you tilt it too far. Now the reason it does that is firstly to warn you, saying, hey, don't move me around while I'm on. But secondly, it basically tells you that it's not level, right? So what you could do, so for example, I've just turned it off, you could have an uneven surface. So for example, we place it like that. This is obviously exaggerating, but you know, maybe you put it like that and you don't really know that it's not level. It looks level, but then you go to turn it on and it will light up and you'll think, sorry, I'll just stop it beeping, and you'll think it's actually level, but it's not, right? So that's why it has a sensor inside. So when that pendulum comes to the minimum or the maximum, it starts beeping and flashing at you to tell you that it's not actually level. And then again, you just level it out and it will stop doing that. So just a couple more examples there. You can see that, and all of the lasers start turning on, basically just to warn you, give you that audible sound, but also all the lasers start flashing at you, so you know that. And you don't have to turn it off. You just simply flick it to the lock button, which then tells it that you want to transport it, move it around, so it will automatically turn itself off, which is really nice to see. The other thing I didn't touch on is these. So where the actual lasers come out of is the center of that. You can see those mirrors, that kind of triangle shape. So there's a beam that comes from the center into it, and then it bounces around, and then that's why you get that line. So it kind of flows all the way around the full 360. These three kind of bulges out where the lasers do come out of are metal, so that's nice and extra protection. Just get a little bit of a closer look at that inside. And I think I've pretty much covered all the features. Actually, the other thing is, let's use the remote. So on the remote, again, you just press it, turns it on and off. I'm gonna hold it like that. Absolutely instant response, no delay in it, which is really nice. I'm not sure if it works. I think it works for radio frequency, not actual infrared. Yeah, it would be a radio frequency through this, because it doesn't have to be line of sight. You can point it any way you want and actually have this further away. So that's good. But like I said, instant response and no issues with it. So on the remote as well is you have this extra brightness level. So there's 3 different brightnesses. You can see this is maximum brightness, and you've got medium, and you've got low brightness there. So you can adjust that based on what you need. And then down the bottom here is you've got the pulse button as well. So if you turn that on, it will just give the laser extra brightness, because it will just work in a slightly different mode where it will send out pulses. Still fast enough, so to your eye, it'll still look like it's continuously on, but it just changes the operation of it slightly. So you can get that extra brightness if you need. So that's the remote, again, really nice. And then just to show this plate here as well. So what's the best way to do that? I guess you can kind of see it like that. So you can see with this plate, as I spin it around here, you can see how much brighter that laser actually is on this plate. So again, from a further distance, the further this is away, the more notable that'll be. But you can see on camera that just shows up much better on here. And then with these glasses as well, if I can kind of bring that up to the but what it does is it just blocks out all other wavelengths, or a lot, not everything, but other wavelengths. It just dims it, because green will only let green come through. which again for that laser just makes that point a little bit brighter. So this is nice. This is more noticeable in person than on camera, but just thought I'd kind of show that anyway, so you can see. All right, so we'll actually turn that off, and what I'll do is there's just 4 screws holding it here, and then I suspect I'll have to take some of these screws off, but I'll just do that and open this up just so we can see what's actually inside and how these laser units actually work, because it is really interesting. So let's do that. All right, there we go. So now that the unit's opened up, this top case comes out really nice. You've just got to take these actual protectors off, but we can also get a better look at them. So you've got the 4 pieces of glass molded inside there, glued in place really nice. And then this really substantial shock absorbing rubber, which also acts as that environmental protection that sits inside that little hat, I guess, and then that sits directly onto the plastic here. So that's firstly really good because this will hold the 2 shells together. Now as we do that, okay, this actually just sits in there loosely, so I do want to be careful with this because again this is a pretty good precision bit of tool. But what we're going to look at is, let's start here. So we've got this black channel up here, which is where the battery slides in, right? So if we go down here, open it up, you can see that's where we can just slide that battery right in and actually put it in place, because we can turn this on while this is open. All right, so that's in there. Up the top, just a simple little PCB, a little microcontroller, and a bunch of tactile buttons. Probably a little op amp here as well. There's going to be a bunch of voltage regulation for this to just stabilize that. And then that's going to shoot it off to the laser, and just a bunch of sensors. So there'll be a gyroscope in here as well. Actually, I just saw, so down the bottom here, there's going to be a little Hall effect sensor. So I'll look at that in a second and show you how that works. But there's basically just going to be a sensor that detects when this is out of motion, right? So then when this is out of motion, this will shut it off, start beeping, and actually just protect that. What have we got up the front here? There is a cable up here. Okay, cool. So that's going to be for the antenna of the remote. So what I said before, this is radio frequency. So just a little RF module inside here, not any infrared or anything like that, which is good. That's what you want. RF will work really nice, and it's the better option for this. So keep that extended because that just makes the antenna a little bit longer. It's probably going to be quite difficult because I'm going to go unplugging everything. But what we can see on the case is down the bottom here, there's a bit of weight here. I wonder if that's, oh no, yep, so that's actually just the bottom of the tripod mount. But that's good because you want a bit of weight there, and then you can see there's an extra weight just glued to the front, just a bit of metal that's glued to the front. So that will just act as a sturdy base. You want that weight down the bottom, so it's got a low center of gravity, so it won't tip over. So that's good. And then this here is actually sort of the whole laser assembly. Now this laser assembly sits on this rubber, almost gasket, I guess. So that sits on the bottom, which is good. And then you have another one on top, just more isolation, right? Because vibration really is the enemy of this. You don't want this to vibrate. And if you drop this, obviously the case is going to absorb it, but then you've got these 2 substantial bits of rubber here that are actually going to absorb that shock and hopefully not damage the mechanism inside. Which also, as I'm actually moving this around, you can kind of see that swing around a little bit, and that laser there just readjust because it's no longer locked in place. That little lock is up here, this plastic tab that sticks out here, so that will actually slide in to this plastic. Almost, it's probably going to be quite hard to see, and it's really hard for me to hold this up, but there we go. As you can see, I can actuate that, and it just has these 2 sort of fingers, I guess, that kind of snap inside. So as they close, they actually grab that laser and hold it in place, which is what that black tab there just actuates. All right, so actually I did just turn that on, so let's just turn this back on. And yep, it's going to beep at me. So I forgot what the buttons do, but let's have a look at turn the verticals on, just so you can see that on camera a bit easier. Okay, there we go. So basically, this still works fine, and you can see if I move it out of the bounds, it will then start flashing and beeping at me, and that's going to be a lot louder, obviously, because the case is closed and the speaker's just going to be inside here, just a little piezoelectric one. And the way it actually detects that is, see if I can show this. Here there's a little sensor. All right, I'm just going to turn this off so it stops beeping at me. There's a little sensor down there, so most likely it's just going to be a Hall effect sensor that just detects the bit of metal in here. So that metal moves around, and based on how that moves and interacts with the sensor, that's going to give it a different reading. So that sensor will tell the chip on the PCB that it's out of bounds, and then it will actually start flashing and kind of lock you out. Now, the other good thing is, as I kind of wobble this around, I can feel there is extra rubber in there somewhere, because it actually absorbs that shock pretty well. So that's actually really good that they didn't just leave that. So it's not actually metal on metal. There is actually rubber all the way around that. So when you are using this and you do leave it unlocked, and if you are moving it around, you're not actually going to damage it, because it's just going to be that rubber that's going to be absorbing the movement of that pendulum in there. So really, really nice feature. But again, when you are moving it, just make sure it's locked, which is also going to be off. So then that works really well. Now I'll bring this up a little bit closer and actually explain this. So we got some bearings there. That's actually really good to see, steel ball bearings, and then on the bottom there as well in 2 directions, obviously. So this can swing around. And then what we have is we have 1, 2, and 3 different, I guess, laser assemblies. So you can see a laser in there. So each of these units has their own laser, which actually is fantastic. Some units have a single laser that gets split into 3. The downside of that is there can be misalignment issues if you drop it, or if that laser fails, the whole unit is dead. Whereas here you actually have 3 different lasers. So if one of these lasers was to actually fail, it would only take out one direction, right? X, Y, or Z, whichever one failed, and you'd still be left with the other 2, which is really good. So if you have this and for whatever reason one of them does break, you can actually still use this pretty well, because you're still going to have 2 directions left. So that's actually really good to see as well. But then you've got that laser module inside that just shoots that laser straight up, again, as I kind of said, into that triangle mirror, and then that triangle just disperses it the full 360 around, which is good. So again, you've got 3 directions for that. Ball bearings inside, and then this whole assembly, again, this is probably a little bit hard to show on camera, but this whole assembly just kind of pivots around and wobbles there because of gravity. So it does have a little weight down the bottom. See if I can show that. So just that, there you go. It almost looks like it's brass or copper. Maybe it's probably brass instead of copper. I don't see why they'd actually use copper. But on this side here, we can see there's that weight there as well. So it's got one weight on this side, one weight on this side, and then it's got another weight right down the bottom. And then right down the bottom, there is also a magnet and a magnetic assembly here. The reason that magnet is there is really just to give gravity a little bit of help, right? So this is going to align itself with gravity really nice, but with gravity, the longer that pendulum is, the better it'll work. This is really only maybe, what's that? Maybe about 4 centimeters difference between the bottom and the bearing. So there isn't actually that much of that pendulum down the bottom to swing. That's why they've gone and added a magnet and an extra weight on the bottom of that as well. So that magnet will just pull it through a little bit more. So it'll just make the alignment of that a bit easier. It's really good to see that they've actually gone and put that little bit more effort into it to just make this really nice, all metal components that will hold up really well. And then they've gone and added these multiple different, so there's probably 2, 3, 4, multiple different levels of shock absorption for this pendulum as well, which is good, because realistically, you're going to end up dropping this. It's going to get bumped. It's going to fall over. It's inevitable, right? Shit happens. So it's good to see, again, that they've done that and looked after it. So very happy with this. Also, extremely bright unit. I would highly recommend this. I'll put links down below if you do want to check any of this out. But very impressed and very happy with this unit. I think this is going to last a very long time. So it's really good. You actually get a lot of bang for your buck with this tool. This is a really nice middle to higher end product, and really nice to see that actually they've designed it really well. And I'm super impressed and super happy that I actually did tear this down and look at the insides, because they've done a fantastic job. So really happy with this tool. I'll just put this back together, maybe show a couple more angles of it, but that's going to pretty much wrap this up. So again, links are down below if you want to check it out. Use those links. It does support the channel. Likewise, hit that like button, all that good YouTube stuff, and leave a comment below. Let me know if you use these sort of lasers, or this one specifically, and what you use them for, what your pros and cons of using these sort of laser levels are. Because at the end of the day, you could just use a spirit level, but that just takes a lot longer and is more complicated, especially if you're doing longer distances. So let me know what you use these sort of tools for. I'm always interested to hear back from the viewers. All right, again, links below. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, have a good one.